Both are very relevant not only in Sri Lanka, but throughout the world today. This, if I may say, I have said so before, 1988 can be called an election year. The politics of the ballot largely concerns us. We have just finished, or will finish tomorrow, elections to 7 provincial councils. We've had from last year elections to municipal councils, or we attempted to have, we had to postpone it to Pradeshika Sabhas. And this year we will continue to have those elections, as well as presidential election fixed by law and general election which has to be determined by the President. So this is an election year, the year of the ballot. All those are important organizations. They are elected by the people, by the free vote. Of course, there may be misdemeanors. There are so in every country. England had large number of election petitions which are bound up in famous law reports called O'Malley and O'Malley. Sri Lanka has had, I have had experience of 14 elections myself, and on 3 occasions I was taken to courts, but fortunately escaped by the skin of my teeth on 1 occasion. But that does not vitiate the general election as held. We will examine all the complaints made through the courts, through the police, and through our own party, against whoever it may be made, and see whether we can't come to impartial decisions. But apart from elections to these bodies, the important fact is that once elected, these bodies will begin to function. And for the first time, we will have provincial councils, which though old in origin in our country in a different way, we had the devolution of authority under the Sinhala kings. They have been suggested in various reports by various organizations, but for the first time, we are having them in our law, and we are electing members to them to function in the next few months. They are a very important sector of our administration. And the people who are elected to them, the chief ministers, the other members, and the governors, will have to maintain the highest traditions of discipline and non-corruptibility. That's an appeal I make to all of you to help them in maintaining those high standards. While therefore the ballot is being used without fear, under threat, but without fear, once again I congratulate our voter, small man. I understand in Colombo, the big man, maybe your traders also didn't go to vote because they value their lives, so does a small man, but he risked it. That's important to know that the ballot is appreciated. It is valued. It is held dear to the heart of the man and the woman who lives in the slums and in the shanties, on the riverbank, on the beach. They are the ones, if I may say so, who support me and my party. While therefore the ballot is of such great importance in a democracy, we find the bullet also becoming a way of life, unfortunately, to some of our younger people. Well, not so young. Can't say that Rohan Vijayveer is a young man today, and he is supposed to lead, I don't know, supposed to lead the terrorists in their campaign. What I mentioned terrorism was because very often people think they have grievances. Why don't you remedy their grievances? Then they'll give up the gun. Those who believe in the ballot also have grievances. You mentioned some grievances, very important grievances. You didn't place a revolver on the table and tell me, these are my grievances. If you don't remedy them, there'll be a bullet through your head. That's the difference between the ballot and the bullet. And I find that though I'm not talking of you, though you may think they have grievances, you remedy them, they trot out something else. There was a very interesting article which appeared in the London Times, and I saw it appeared in the Sunday Observer by one O'Connor O'Brien. He's an Irishman. He wrote a previous one on the rule of law and terrorism. The rule of law, which we all know in England, where you consider a person not to be guilty until he is found to be guilty, should not apply, he says, to terrorist campaigners. In this article, which appears last Sunday, he says there is no difference between the militant and the person who is friend, who thinks he is not militant, who thinks he is not a terrorist, but always stands up for the terrorists and says that you must remedy his grievances. It's a very valuable article which you should read. This is exactly what I am facing. The terrorists say you must have a general election, otherwise we will kill you. They are having elections all the time. One doesn't have general elections because somebody wants it. If the period is bad for a government, the person who has the right to decide on the election won't have it at that time. I think Mrs. Thatcher chose the best time for her party to win the election. Unfortunately, the President of the United States can't do that because his time is fixed. So is my time as President. President election is fixed for December, January. But a general election always depends on the wish of the Prime Minister or the head of the government to choose the time and the hour and the day which is best for his government. So when the leader of the opposition says have a general election, he chooses the best time for him, not for